Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me to Virtuosi at Check the Gate. I am Chen Reiss, and tonight I am delighted to host the young and spirited German star pianist Sophie Pacini, winner of many music awards, including the Echo Classic 2015 and the International Classical Music Award 2017. We welcome Sophie Pacini.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Sophie.
Hi.
Great to meet you.
Yes, great to meet you too.
Thank you for joining me. It's a real pleasure to have you.
Yes, for me too. Really great pleasure.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Was preparing to this interview today, and I hope you can see me well. Everything works. So
Look absolutely stunning, very beautiful.
perfect.
You are in Munich, yes?
Yes, right. Yes.
Lovely.
I live here.
And you were born in Germany, but your father is Italian.
Yes, that's true. And so my mother is the German part. My father is Italian, and my mother is German. Yes. And I was born in Germany, and I was raised to be native in both languages. So I speak with my father Italian and with my mom German. So a mixture at home.
You could have made a wonderful opera singer.
Thank you so much.
Luckily, you are also a brilliant, brilliant pianist. I very much enjoy listening to your recordings. And I know you also have a very beautiful story of how you started to play the piano. Would you share it with us?
Yes, of course. So my parents are no musicians. And I'm really the first musician in the whole family. So also my grandparents and great-grandparents, no musicians there. And when my father and my mother met, of course, my father told my mom that he always wanted to play the piano, but he couldn't because he was born during the war. And so they didn't have enough money to afford the piano and even lessons. So my mom, when she had some savings, she bought an upright piano for my father. And I was 5 years old. And so he decided to go to have his first piano lessons and to take me with him. And so we both started to play the piano, and we started to play the same pieces. And it was kind of a very lovely competition at home because we studied each after another and we listened to each other, of course. And so in the beginning we shared our improvements, and at some point after 2 years my father gave up and he didn't play the piano anymore. Yeah, he just used to be my taxi driver, as you said, because then I started to really to go into this professional way of pianist, and my parents didn't have any idea that this could be possible. They just wanted me to learn an instrument and just to enjoy, to make music.
But they were very supportive of what you were doing.
Yes, very much. And there was no pressure at home because they didn't have any imagination that this could be one day my way. And so they were just curious, following me, and always afraid to maybe to put around me too much pressure, because then when I was 8 years old, I started to study with Professor Kemmerling in Salzburg at the university already. And we got to know this whole music world, and nearly everyone was the child of a family of musicians. So my parents were sometimes scared that maybe I would feel too much pressured. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sasha Goetzel is suggesting that you will establish the Pacini piano duo together with your father.
You know, sometimes when we are at home, we just play some Wohlfahrt together. There's some pieces for four hands, and so yeah. He plays the left hand. Yeah.
My mother is a singer, and
I see.
We didn't have much chance to sing together, but one time we did do a concert together, and it was an amazing experience.
Can imagine.
And
who was more nervous?
It's a good question. It's a very good question, but it's funny because my father always was driving me around, and whenever people after concert would ask my mother, "So what do you do?" She said, "I'm a singer." And then they would ask my father, "Are you a musician too?" And he said, "No, someone had to be able to sign the checks." So
That's wonderful.
there you go. Um, Sophie, I want to refer to a recent interview
Yes.
that you gave to Van magazine, where you speak very passionately about the rapidly growing phenomena of home concerts streamed on the internet.
Yes.
So
True.
tell us about it with your Italian passionate way.
Well, at some point when I saw that more and more musician colleagues are streaming from home and doing those kind of home concerts, somehow I could see that there wasn't a balance anymore from just showing just yeah, some part of your work at home and then performing on stage, because it wasn't possible anymore, but somehow to replace a concert moment with a house concert, home concert. And I could see that many of them didn't care really about the sound or how they looked at home. It was just somehow fancy to be home to share music, which is great. But at some point I could see that it was going to be every evening and every moment. And so it wasn't anymore there this kind of holy moment of a concert, because they started to call it concert. And for me, I could see that there is not this energy you need for a concert, this focus, this tension, and especially this breathing together, to have an audience who is listening and who is sharing with you the music, breathing together, and just sharing the emotions immediately to react on the audience. And so at some point I got bothered, because I was afraid that after all this period, maybe people would start to ask, but why should I pay now on a ticket for a concert if I also could listen at home for free, because it was always for free. And then you couldn't know if your recipient was listening carefully, or maybe just sitting on the toilet and listening to some Beethoven sonata. And for me, this didn't go together anymore. And then I thought that this wouldn't be a favor to our musicians world and to this business, and especially to the importance of a concert moment. And so I just started to write an article or an essay by myself about Beethoven and the silence, because at some point I realized that it's somehow a very funny coincidence that, especially in the year of Beethoven, we were all just damned to be deaf and to not hear anything anymore, to be like Beethoven, who wasn't able to hear anything anymore. And so I wrote about to dare to be silent, just to listen to yourself, to be with yourself. And because I guess me and you and all of our colleagues, we barely had the moment to be just with ourselves during all the last years, playing concerts all the time, traveling, talking with agency contracts, all these things, PR, albums, releases. So this could be a chance to realize what is my mission in music. And so I wrote this essay, and at some point some journalists saw this essay, and so I got some requests for interview, for example, the one in Van magazine you saw. Yeah.
It's a brilliant essay that you wrote. Also, Sasha Götzel, he agrees with me. Excellent essay and point of view, as you can see. I mean, there aren't many people who can play the piano well, but there are even, I think, fewer people who can also play the piano so well like you, but also write so well. Really, it's very, one sees that there is a lot of thought and reflection behind what you've written. And I also think that it's not a coincidence that in this special Beethoven's anniversary year, the world of music is forced to be silent,
Yeah.
and to reset. And hopefully when we come back, we don't make the same mistakes that we did before.
Hopefully.
And we evolve in the right way, so that our art form can not only survive but can bloom.
That's true.
And that is the big question that I think all of us are facing. All the musicians, not only the musicians, I think all the artists, is how the world of art is going to look when we are at the other end. So good for you for writing it and for talking about it in such an open way, because I think a lot of people share your opinion, but you had the courage to actually say it. And yes, it's an evolution moment, as Sasha commenting.
Thank you.
I want to talk also about your very successful album, In Between, which the Daily Mail chose as album of the year. And it was, I think, #2 in Germany on the chart for many months. And it was one of the most successful piano albums of the year. So first of all, what brought you to choose this repertoire? Robert Schumann, Clara Schumann, Fanny Hensel, and Mendelssohn.
Well, first of all, it was the year of Clara Schumann was approaching. So last year we celebrated the anniversary of Clara Schumann. But I wanted to record some Robert Schumann. And then I thought it would be really interesting to show that there is a connection between Robert Schumann and Clara Schumann, not because just they were married, but because in my opinion, the music of Robert wouldn't have been the same if he didn't meet the Clara, especially since I discovered some kind of intertextualities between there's a scherzo by Clara Schumann in C minor and In der Nacht from the fantasy pieces of Schumann. And you can see, especially also in Carnival, this was actually the moment where I discovered this connection between Clara and Robert in the music. There is a little piece called Chiarina. And suddenly the whole character of this Carnival changes. It becomes more dramatic, more intense. And you can see that this is the character, obviously, of Chiarina, how Robert sees this. And so you can also see that this kind of waves and being somehow tortured, this searching to find the inner peace is a very important matter also to Robert. And he kind of, he brings into this Chiarina all the soul of Clara. And also in these fantasy pieces, you can hear a lot of Clara Schumann. And since she said that she is just at the side from Robert to play his music, and he was actually somehow sad that she didn't compose more pieces, and he wanted to support her more. So there were this kind of exchange also with their diary they shared together, and then the same connection was between Fanny Hensel and also Felix Mendelssohn, because somehow Fanny was more she was more an revolutionary person than her brother Felix. And when she wrote music, she did some very dangerous and very modern modulations, and somehow she encouraged Felix to be more open and to be a bit more daring. And he was more to the traditional Bach way and Beethoven. And you can hear, especially in Variations Sérieuses, that at some point he tries to get out of this inner fight for being new, modern, and to put in question what he has learned and what he maybe should give the future. And so there also is this exchange between those two personalities. And altogether, of course, Felix Mendelssohn conducted the first performance of Schumann's piano concerto, and Clara Schumann was playing. And especially the Lieder ohne Worte, Songs Without Words, was first composed by Fanny Hensel. And So as Heinrich Heine said when he visited this musical salon of Fanny Hensel, he said, actually, she is kind of a music. When she plays, she is a song without words. And so this is actually, now we know Felix Mendelssohn for his songs without words, but actually it was Fanny Hensel. So and all this together in between, and me in between of all those lines, yeah, were just the reason for this CD.
Clara and both Clara and Fanny wrote also a beautiful lieder, very, very beautiful lieder for singers.
Yes, true.
And I mean, my favorite song cycle by Robert Schumann was actually the Myrten was actually dedicated to exactly, and you played it so beautifully in your CD and also on YouTube. So bravo for that. That is a brilliant project. What is the future? Any other new projects that you are working on that you could share with us?
Yes, sure. So on 10th of September, my new CD will be released, and it's called Rimembranza. And there will be pieces by Schubert and Mozart on this CD. And it's kind again of something in between, because for me, all the music is in between. There's always just some red line into all those composers we play. And there it's especially based on the tonality A minor. And because I recorded this famous A minor sonata by Mozart, he composed after the death of his mother in Paris. And also this A minor sonata D784 by Schubert, who has this beautiful E major theme in the middle. So really something yeah, very special, because they are so similar. You could think that those pieces were written really in the same moment. And I'm sure that somehow Schubert had to know this sonata by Mozart. And on the base of everything of that is the music of Beethoven and his Seventh Symphony in A major. So also this change between A minor and A major, it's kind, for me, A minor is a tonality which is completely without any color. There's also you don't have any sharps, any flats. You have to put everything yourself, and you have to create everything new. So it's kind of a white paper. And if they barely never use C major as a tonality to compare with A minor in their sonatas, but A major. So this is kind of, if you might color something which is without any color. And so those two sonatas are really the middle of this album. And somehow, since I couldn't know about Corona, but for me, Corona is also the period of A minor, where we have to restart everything after. We have to color it. We have to put our visions. And we can't just give up, because if we give up, there is nothing which will be just itself there. And yeah, so Rimembranza, because I remember the time when I learned those pieces, and also because Schubert reminds Mozart and Beethoven. And then there are two of the most famous Impromptu by Schubert, and again a lied, the Ständchen by Schubert, in the transcription by Liszt. So this will be released in September.
Beautiful. We are all looking forward to this CD. It's really very, very special also to hear you talk about it. And I'm sure that you also wrote something in the CD.
Yes, actually, I wrote this time the booklet all by myself.
Yeah. I think it makes a big difference for us as musicians, but also for the people who buy the CD, to read what we artists really think, what is the idea behind it. Because for me, every CD is like giving a birth to a child.
That's true. Yes.
and then I always think, what would be the title, like naming a child. Yes. And somehow I have to admit that it always comes very naturally to me. I never had to really think very hard about it, but it takes time. It's not something that at least with me, it's not something that I know at the beginning of the process. Yes. Usually I record the CD and I have to stay with it in order to find the right name for the child.
Yes, and just leave some time before listening to it again. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And Sasha is writing A minor child. Yes, or a Corona child, but yes,
Corona child,
minor
yes.
child is the right way. Sophie, who were or who are your mentors?
Well, there is especially one, which is Marta Argerich, and she was my idol since I started to play the piano. And so since now, I mean, people know that we are playing together in a duo as well. She asked me to do so. So for me, it was, of course, a huge honor to be with her on stage. We had to reschedule our concerts, so they are postponed into the next season now. And we are also going to play together some Beethoven, the great fugue for two pianos, and also some Mozart and some Liszt. And for me, when I met her, it was a coincidence. It wasn't planned. I mean, I always dreamed about to meet her in person, but when it happened, I was in Italy for vacation. I was 18 years old, so now already 10 years ago. And she were playing a concert right there. My father is from a little town called Pietrasanta, and they had a festival. They just started this festival, Pietrasanta in Concerto. And I saw a manifest with her name on it that she's going to play the opening concert. So, and I was saying to my father, but this can't be a coincidence. I have to meet her. I have to somehow to take every possibility to meet her. And so he said, but Sophie, I don't have any network. I don't know how to get to know to her and how to reach her out. And so he found an article in a newspaper where you could see the managing director of the festival, but just from behind. Yeah. And he was looking like many men are, sorry, but in his early 50s with belly hair here and a lot of hair here now. So we were looking with this newspaper in this little, yeah, this is kind of a market place in the center of Pietrasanta to find this person. And my father, he really found him. And then he asked him, so I would really want you to introduce my daughter, Sophie. She's a pianist, and she would want to meet Marta Argerich. And he said, well, it's difficult with her. Maybe you should just go to her hotel and wait for her. Maybe at some point she will come and you could just greet her. So we went there, and I could see there was a piano just booked for her to practice. And after 1 hour of waiting and nobody was coming, I started to practice on that piano because I thought maybe if I'm playing, she will come downstairs just to look who's bothering and playing on her piano. And it happened to be so. And so she came downstairs and she asked me what I want, and she wasn't in a very good mood. She said that she needs to practice herself, and she sent me away. But somehow I really wanted to try again, so I waited for another 2 hours, and then she could see that I really wanted her to listen to me. And then she said, well, okay, you're still here. What do you want to play? And I said, I dared. Yeah, the B minor sonata by Liszt. And I guess she thought this girl is crazy. I mean, now she's here and she wants to play B minor sonata. And what she let me play. And so I played the whole piece, half an hour. And after that, she kissed my cheek. She ran into me. She took me in her arms and she said, you're really fantastic. And she was, so she says today, extremely impressed. And this was the beginning of a very intimate friendship. And when she's in Munich, she stays at my place. And so we are in touch very often, and now we even play together. So somehow this was kind of a Hollywood story, but it was just a dream which were coming true. So this is always something that I recommend to some students or children who start to play, or say what is really important. And I say to really believe in your dreams, because someday it will come true. You just have to believe in it and work for it.
Sophie, this is such a beautiful story and such a beautiful message. Also, Clara is saying, wow, what a story. From which part of Italy is originally your father?
From Tuscany. So he was born in Lucca. And we still don't know if we have any relation to Giovanni Pacini, this famous opera composer. Maybe we have, who knows? But yeah, so, and he was raised in Pietrasanta, which is really a town close to the sea.
And your concert next year with Marta, where is it going to take place?
So the next, which is planned, is on the 16th of December in Munich in Herkulessaal. And then we are going to play also in Hanover and Hamburg, but those dates have to be cleared still because, yeah, I mean, you know, the circumstances. But this is at least the dates that I can assure, if everything goes as planned, which we never know.
We never know, but let's pray, Sophie. It looks like Germany and Austria and many other European countries are opening up, and I really wish you and all of us that we can hear you very, very soon live on stage. You are a beautiful person. You are a wonderful pianist. I recommend to anyone to go and read your articles. The story about Marta is really brought tears to my eyes. It's absolutely beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing your beautiful soul and your beautiful
ideas, great pleasure,
beautiful music with us.
Thank you so much for having me. And
Good
be
night.
safe and stay healthy.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.